Good evening, everyone. Just takes a couple of moments for all the attendees to be let in. So we'll just wait a couple of moments here and let people log in, but hopefully you can hear our sound and see our screen. And we will get ourselves started here in just a moment. All right, looks like that should work. Good evening, everybody. We're excited to have Tomsett families joining us this evening for a virtual Q&A information evening for the City Centre Catchment Review process. So this is for Tomsett Thunderbird families this evening, and just a reminder that the meeting will be recorded. So if you do have to step out early, or if you have friends or neighbors who weren't able to make it tonight, all Tomsett families will receive an email tomorrow with a link that will go to the recording of this meeting. I'd like to begin our time together this evening by acknowledging and thanking the First Peoples of the Hunkaminam language speaking group, on whose traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories we teach, learn, and live. We're so lucky to be together as a school community and a district community on these lands. And it's a lovely sunny evening out, so I'm hoping that we were able to get you some really good information tonight, and then maybe give you a little bit of daylight left this evening to enjoy the outdoors with your family. There are three of us on screen this evening that you'll hear from, so I'll just take a moment to introduce everybody. Cindy Wang is our Secretary Treasurer. My name is Bronwyn Thompson. I'm an Assistant Superintendent and support Tomsett Elementary. And Jonathan Ho is the Director of our Richmond Project team and all things facilities and projects. So he'll be leading us through quite a bit of the information this evening regarding the scenarios that we're asking for public feedback on. So here's the shape of our time together tonight. I'm going to take a couple of moments to just show you a few of the features that are available to you on the Zoom webinar that will hopefully help you get what you need from this evening's session, as well as the ability to submit some questions to us that we can try and touch on throughout the evening. Cindy Wang will then take us through a little bit of a purpose of why we're here together for this City Centre Catchment Review and the timeline and how you can provide feedback. As we mentioned, this is part of the parent public consultation phase. We're really interested in your feedback, your thoughts. And then Jonathan will lead us through some quick facts and 3D renderings of the new school site, as well as the overview of the two scenarios that we're asking for your feedback on during this time. And just one more reminder for anyone who joined us a little bit late this evening, that the meeting will be recorded, and there will be a link sent to all Tomsett families tomorrow so that you can review it again or share it with friends and neighbors who weren't able to be here. So two features on Zoom that you might wish to enable this evening if you're on a laptop or a computer, or maybe you're on a mobile device. If you'd like to enable captions, like closed captioning, written captions of what we're saying this evening, we do have that ability. You just have to toggle on the Show Captions button, which is at the bottom of your screen. And the speaking language that we'll be using tonight is English, but you can choose a caption language, and there's a lot of choice there. So it will not translate the slides that we're showing you, but it will translate what we're saying. So if you're interested in enabling that, I'll leave that on the screen just for another moment here. It is accessible both on a mobile device or on a computer or laptop. So if that helps you, please feel free to use that this evening. The next slide I'll show you here is the Q&A feature. So part of the webinar, again, on that bottom bar, you'll see a question mark in a box with a Q&A feature. So throughout the evening, we will do our very best to try and bring the themes that are emerging from the questions and answer those live during our presentation this evening. So you are able to type in there. It's not visible to the general public, but it is visible to the panelists. And we'll do our best to weave that in throughout our conversation and our sharing tonight of the questions that you have. So hopefully those two buttons are showing for you down at the bottom. And with that, I will turn it over to Cindy to talk a little bit more about the City Centre Catchment Review process.
Thank you so much, Bronwyn. Good evening, everyone. The Richmond School District is excited to announce that the new City Centre School will be opening at 8671 Allen Crescent in September 2026. As we get ready for this new school, we're reviewing the nearby school catchments to create a new catchment area for this new school. And Through this process, we also need to balance the enrollment and help with the overcapacity at neighboring schools. We want to make sure our schools' resources and programs are well used responsibly. The district will endeavor to have students attending the schools nearby where they live. We also want to give families clarity, clear information in terms of where their children will go to school. So our goal ultimately is to make the new school a great place for all students and a strong part of our learning community enrichment. So the key dates for the catchment review process are outlined on the slide. The process has been launched early September, and between September 3rd and October 27th, feedback will be gathered from the public and the community. In November, all public input will be reviewed and analyzed, and the decision will be made by the board by the end of November. The district is committed to making sure families and community members have clear information and meaningful ways to share their input. We've created a number of engagement opportunities to gather feedback and ensure it's reflected in the district's planning and board decisions. All details and links are available on our website at sd38.bc.ca/city center catchment review. Each of the city center schools will host a school-specific virtual open house to walk you through the details and answer your questions. Also, we're offering an online survey available in both English and Chinese, so families they can provide feedback conveniently in their preferred language. Finally, we'll hold an in-person open house on September 16th at McNeil Secondary School, where community members can engage directly with district staff. So this is an overview of how the catchment review process will unfold. And I'm going to pause here to see if there are any questions relating to the general process before we dive into the details about the new school.
Thanks, Cindy. Folks, if you're asking questions that are slightly more specific to your own students or your family, we'll do our best to try and type back and answer to you privately rather than answering to the entire webinar. There is a question here that talks about some of the traffic flow around the new site. So Jonathan, I'd like to just sort of bring that to your attention, but I know that you'll probably talk about that a little bit when you get into the scenarios. So maybe we'll just we'll let folks know that we will talk a little bit about that when we show you some maps and request some feedback. And if you're asking questions that are a little bit individual, we will do our best to try and type back to you, but we'll send that privately to you so that we're not sharing confidential information across. So I think we can go ahead and start with the scenarios. Jonathan, I'll turn it over to you and we'll keep trying to pull themes from the questions as we go.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Bronwyn. Before we get into the details of the catchment review, let's give everyone a sense of how many students the new elementary school will accommodate, and some 3D renderings that were developed by Trio Architecture will show what the new school will look like. So the new school is located at 8671 Alden Crescent, and we're targeting an opening in September 2026. It has a capacity for 294 students and will have 13 classrooms, including 2 kindergarten classrooms. It is intended to be a neighborhood K-7 program. This exterior view of the school shows a new color scheme that is employed by the same recent exterior paint colors of our elementary schools. This is the main foyer entrance to the school. These interior renderings show a typical classroom and the proposed library learning commons in a large open concept space. A typical classroom showing collaborative stations for students, millwork, and the whiteboard against which the teacher can project materials. In the library, you'll see that there are permanent bookshelves between the columns and along the wall, and rolling bookcases that are perpendicular to the length of the library. These rolling bookcases can be moved to create different learning environments. All right, so when it comes to the two scenarios, the board is required by the School Act and policy to create a catchment for the new Audlin Crescent School. To seek meaningful feedback, staff have worked on two scenarios for the public to provide input on. These scenarios were developed with both short and long-term planning in mind as the City of Richmond continues to build more residential units in city center. Feedback collected from the public on both scenarios will be reviewed by staff and provided to the board for their consideration when determining the Audlin Crescent catchment, and revisions to the catchments of the four affected city center schools of Brickhouse, Cook, Tommy, and Tomsett. All right, so before we get into the scenarios, this is a map showing the existing city center schools and their catchments with the new school start. 8671 Audlin Crescent is situated in the middle of the existing Tomsett catchment, and you can see its relative location to Brickhouse, Cook, Tommy, and Tomsett. Also shown are the utilization rates for our existing four city center schools for the 24-25 school year, and the projected utilizations for the 25-26 school year without Audlin Crescent's capacity accounted for. As you can see, Brickhouse, Cook, and Tomsett are expected to be over capacity, while Tommy is nearly at capacity in these projections. All right, here's the scenario 1 for the new city center catchment. The new school has a proposed catchment in this scenario that is west of Garden City, north of Westminster Highway, east of Minaroo Boulevard, along River Road, and south of Canby. Scenario 1 proposes adjustments to the existing catchments of Brickhouse, Cook, and Tomsett to create the new school catchment. In this scenario, Tommy catchment is not affected. The western portion of the current Tomsett catchment between Garden City, Lansdowne Road, Canby, and River Road would be reallocated to the new Audlin Crescent School. The northern portion of the Cook catchment between Westminster Highway, Lansdowne Road, Minaroo Boulevard, and Garden City would be reallocated to the new school. The northeast portion of the current Brickhouse catchment between Minaroo Boulevard, Number 3 Road, Westminster Highway, and Leslie Road would be reallocated to the new school. Projected 2026 enrollment for the proposed changes to the Brickhouse, Cook, and Tomsett catchments to the new school is shown in the yellow boxes, with the total projected enrollment at Audlin Crescent at 294 students. This represents the students that live in the portions of the three schools catchments that would be eligible to attend the new city center school in 2026. A final adjustment would help balance the catchment between Brickhouse and Cook by reallocating a portion of the current Brickhouse catchment between Granville Avenue, Westminster Highway, Number 3 Road, and the residences between Minaroo Boulevard and Minaroo Park to Cook. If we focus specifically on Tomsett, the western portion of the existing catchment between Lansdowne Road, Garden City, Canby, Number 3 Road, and River Road would be reallocated to the new school. Scenario 1 projects that 94 students that live in this area would be eligible to attend the new school in 2026. Overall, Scenario 1 will result in the projected enrollments of all 5 schools as shown in the green highlighted numbers for 2026. For reference, the operating capacities of each of the schools are provided. Projected enrollment for 2026 will put Audlin Crescent at capacity, Tommy at slightly below capacity, with Brickhouse, Cook, and Tomsett expected to be at over operating capacity. Note that when modular additions and portables are included, Brickhouse, Cook, and Tomsett can meet our projected 2026 enrollment needs. This table shows the 2025 school year enrollment at Cook, Brickhouse, Tomsett, and Tommy. Scenario 1 with Audlin Crescent shows we are projected to be at near capacity for 3 of the 5 city center schools in the 2026 school year and over capacity at 2 of them. Our facilities planning staff have also looked at projected enrollment through 2030. And as you can see, all 5 city center schools will be over capacity if scenario 1 catchments are used. All right, before we move on to scenario 1, Bronwyn, what have been the questions that have come up through the discussion of scenario 1?
Yeah, so the first question is, do you want to just give a little bit of information about the surrounding roads and some of the conversations you're having through the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee or other pieces? Just folks are noting that there's some traffic patterns around the new school site. I don't know if there's anything you can add to that.
Yes, certainly. We're well aware of the fact that as currently situated, the Olive Crescent School roadways are designed for commercial use and intent. Now that this is a public sector school, we're working very closely with our partners in the City of Richmond and the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee to look at changes to traffic flow to support the new school. One of the areas that we're going to be considering is the anticipated flow of students into Audlin Crescent from the surrounding areas, and looking at where we can make changes to the existing area in front of Audlin Crescent, and knowing that there are certain roads that are currently dead-ended that could potentially be opened up. There also would have to be changes on the speed around the new school, because it's currently a 50-kilometer area, which will have to be converted to a 30-kilometer an hour school zone. So those conversations are being undertaken and studied with the City of Richmond to make sure there are no unintended consequences for how we do this.
That's great. Thank you so much. And then there are some questions from folks just about individual circumstances for families, or how will this be implemented for families? And so at this point, we're asking for public feedback on the proposed scenarios for the catchment maps. We really encourage folks to complete the surveys. There are open text box on the surveys. If there's specific considerations or thoughts that you'd like the staff and board to be aware of with respect to the catchment boundaries, please make sure that you submit that as part of your feedback. We really want to hear from you. So we'll share that slide again at the end of where you can find the surveys. And if you'd like to come speak to us in person next week at the McNeil Secondary in-person open house, we'd be really happy to meet with you then as well. So Jonathan, I think you can go ahead and keep going with scenario 2 at this point, and we'll just keep trying to answer what we can and keep going. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. All right, scenario 2. It proposes that the new city center school catchment will be slightly different from scenario 1. We're looking at west of Garden City, north of Ackroyd Road, east of Gilbert Road, along River Road, and south of Brown Road. This scenario differs from scenario 1 in that less of the existing Cook catchment is affected, a different section of the existing Brickhouse catchment is proposed, and a southern portion of the existing Tommy catchment is reallocated to the new city center school. Scenario 2 proposes adjustments to the catchments of Brickhouse, Cook, Tomsett, and Tommy to create the new school catchment. The western portion of the current Tomsett catchment between Garden City, Lansdowne Road, Canby, and River Road would be reallocated to the new Audlin Crescent School. This is the same as in scenario 1. However, we would like the Tomsett community to provide input on some of the changed catchments as well, because we want to make sure we have everyone's input in scenario 2. With respect to the different catchments, Breakhouse catchment, we would look at reallocating a portion of the northeast catchment of Breakhouse between Elmbridge Way, Ackroyd Road, Gilbert Road, Alderbridge Way, and Number 3 Road to be reallocated to the new city center school. The northern portion of the Cook catchment between Ackroyd Road, Lansdowne Road, Garden City, and Number 3 Road would be reallocated to the new Audlin Crescent School. A portion of the current Tommy catchment between Garden City, River Road, Canby, and a northern border running between Capstan Way and Sweet Avenue would be reallocated to the new school. This accommodates the expected enrollment growth spurred by the newly completed Capstan station on the Canada Line. Projected enrollment for 2026 for the proposed changes to Brickhouse, Cook, Tomsett, and Tommy catchments to the new school is shown in the yellow boxes. with the total projected enrollment at Alden Crescent at 292. This represents the students that live in the portions of Brickhouse, Cook, Tomsett, and Tommy that are eligible to attend the new City Center School in 2026. Final adjustment is made to balance the enrollment between Brickhouse and Cook, reallocating a portion of the current Brickhouse catchment between Granville Avenue, Westminster Highway, Number 3 Road, and Monroe Boulevard to Cook. Right. As noted, the scenario 2 for Tomsett is the same as scenario 1. Both scenarios project 94 students that live in this area would be eligible to attend the new City Center School in 2026. Overall, scenario 2 will result in the projected enrollments of all 5 schools as shown in the green highlighted numbers. For reference, the operating capacities at each of the schools is also provided. Projected enrollment for 2026 will put Alden Crescent at near capacity, Tommy at below capacity to accommodate projected future enrollment growth, while Brickhouse, Cook, and Tomsett are expected to be over operating capacity. Note that when modular additions and portables are included, Brickhouse, Cook, and Tomsett can meet our projected 2026 enrollment needs. This table shows the 2025 school year enrollment at Cook, Brickhouse, Tomsett, and Tommy. Scenario 2 with Alden Crescent shows that we are projected to be at near capacity for 2 of the 5 city center schools in the 2026 school year, and just over capacity at 3. As with scenario 1, our facilities planning staff have also looked to the projected enrollment through 2030. And as you can see, all 5 city center schools will be over capacity if the scenario 2 catchments are used. All right, so at this time, what additional questions have come up about scenario 2?
A good question here just about the secondary school catchment. And so thanks folks for asking that question. If you look at the maps, the intention of the new elementary school on Odland site is that it's currently situated within the McNeil secondary catchment, which is the same as the Tomsett secondary catchment. So the intention is for the new elementary school to feed into McNeil Secondary School, as that's the majority, depending on which proposal and which scenario the board decides to move forward with. The majority of either of those scenarios is for it to go to McNeil, because that's where the school is currently located. So thank you. That was a really good question. While folks are just sort of digesting that information and considering if there's anything that they want to type specific to the maps or Jonathan's presentation, we do appreciate all your feedback here. Just a reminder of the timeline. And so we're hosting the Tomsett evening tonight. Next week, we have 2 more open houses that folks are welcome to come to. One is in person at McNeil, and there's another general population one on Wednesday night. This week is our school-specific ones, which is why we're connecting with you this evening. But the public feedback period is open until the end of October. So please continue to visit that district website. I'll share it with you here one more time. There is an FAQ document on there that will be updated as we go through our public consultation and hear what some of the questions are and make an effort to update that as we go, as well as the survey is available there, which is a way for folks to submit their feedback and information, and all of that information will be used by staff to present to the board and the board's consideration. You can also fill out the survey more than once. So if you would like to fill it out now based on some information you have now, and then you have some more ideas in a couple of weeks, feel free to do so. Again, if you'd like to come connect in person and see maybe some bigger versions of these maps, we'll have some printed boards available on Tuesday night if you want to take a bit of a closer look and give your feedback on those. We'll be over at McNeil Secondary at 6:30 next Tuesday night, and would be very grateful to receive your feedback. At this point, we really are asking for feedback on the proposed scenarios and the establishment of the new catchment. And once the board approves the new catchment, we would be able to work with families on the implementation of that information. So I will just pause here. Cindy, I know you're trying to sort of answer very specific ones. Are there any themes that you want to pop out from the questions for Jonathan or I to answer? Not at this time. Okay. I know Cindy's doing a good job of trying to answer some of the questions that are popping up, and I think we've tried to touch on the themes. So again, the focus right now is getting feedback from the city center schools and potentially impacted families in terms of what is your feedback on the proposed scenarios and the catchments for the maps. So please do so. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here. Again, this will be recorded. You'll receive a link tomorrow morning. Please make sure you share it with friends and neighbors if they weren't able to be here. And we will be at McNeil next week if you'd like to come talk to us in person as well. Thank you so much. Jonathan, anything to add?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Wishing you a smooth evening and good rest of the week. And we appreciate you, and we'll take care and see you soon. Thank you so much. Take care.